If you found this particular reflection, I imagine you're stepping into your zone of genius more and more so. But today's message isn't just a confirmation that you are connecting to the edges of your genius. It contains within it a reflection, a perspective, an understanding that's going to assist you in being able to live out your gift, your visions, and your dreams with more flow, less resistance, and ultimately, have a fun time creating and living as you go. I'm Danielle Lynn, by the way, your friend in co-creative synchronicity, someone who walks this path just as you do and shares messages across time and space that appear to connect with you at just the resonant moment. From that, you can only find this if on some level there is something here for you in it. So with that, let's take a look at what's showing up. We got the dragon scales on today, so it should be quite interesting. How do you feel about dragons, my friend? Would love to hear your reflections on that. It feels to me as though there is certainly dragon, creative, elemental energy at play here in today's message. Okay? And that doesn't surprise me because when I meditated before cultivating this message with you, what came forward were a few keys. First thing, there is a message here about the nature of how you connect with others. And others don't have to be humans. One of the first messages that came up about the nature of your connection is the less that you feel the need to connect with anyone or anything else from the level of attempting to validate something within yourself, usually it's the ego, or without the need to be seen, the more you're going to actually be seen and also attract and connect with your most authentic connections and experiences possible. Many of us consider connection an opportunity to receive something. But at this stage in your journey, I imagine that you know the more that you connect with sincerity and authenticity, the more you are going to have those kinds of connections reflected back at you. In the beginning, when you choose to go all in with embodying authenticity and sincerity, sometimes you might find people who are still in your field who don't resonate with that, might get a little bit of ruffled feathers. And that's all right. I know it can feel a little intense when that happens, but I invite you to not take it personally. In fact, the more that you realize that people and experiences that lash out with hurt are likely in a certain level of self-darkness, then you realize that that behavior has very little to do with you directly and is more of a reactive response to a rejection of energy that is being reflected back to them that would otherwise require them to face some of their own shadows or their own challenges. You can leave that be. We can all leave that be. Because what anyone else is going through ultimately is none of our business. This really is ultimately, in this moment, about you. And so when you remember that if your choice to connect isn't rooted in trying to satisfy a desire to be seen, a desire to be heard, a desire to be understood, or any of those things that the ego sometimes likes to latch onto, and rather is simply a choice to connect for the sake of authentic connection, of authentic curiosity, then you are likely to find experiences that are truly fun and playful and joyful for you. And so the message here is reminding you that no one else has to assist you in reconciling what's going on within you first. You have the power and the capacity to see yourself, to listen to yourself, to validate yourself. You don't need to look to anyone else for that. Part of the power of now is giving yourself permission to be curious about what is possible and no longer allowing negative momentum of stories that no longer serve you to follow you in the moment. And so I invite you, if you like, to take in a breath and then out. And as you're breathing out, see if you can really empty out your stomach. Like, I have a sound bowl, and sometimes the bottom of the bowl gets a little dust in it. And I feel like breathing out is kind of like we're clearing out a little bit of the dust that's at the bottom of our bowl, of our belly. Clearing it out as we're integrating these rememberings, things that we know on some level are true and resonant for us. And instead of needing to fight the old stories of anything anymore, we're remembering that stories are ultimately a choice. The ones that we focus on and perpetuate are ultimately a choice. And as we give ourselves permission to more and more observe the toggle reality mode through being the observer, being the experiencer, toggle, observer, experiencer, so on and so forth, we give ourselves more permission to not get stuck in stories that no longer serve us. This is what you've been remembering more and more. So more and more ease and flow gets to come into your life because flow restrictors are very often connected to outdated stories or ego attachments. Those are two of the more common flow restrictors. It's essentially a bid at control of reality through not trusting the natural momentum and flow. And so the other part of the message is about allowing yourself to express your genius with yourself and with your connections from the place of not getting overly attached to the expression of your genius. This is a really interesting one because the ego loves the idea, right, of being seen as a genius, loves the idea of being praised or being seen as competent or being valued. But my experience of the expression of genius is that genius comes through the clearest when the ego or the attachments step aside so that you can clearly flow with the creative energy, with the divine energy, however you see it, the source energy. And so there's a big irony there in which the ego, who would love to be considered a genius, actually is invited to step aside so that the expression can flow without attachment of how it flows. And I find when this natural expression can flow, something very honest comes through. We notice this in certain songs, works of art, and other creations of genius in this world. It can come in all kinds of forms, inventions. It can come in forms of stand-up routines. Like when someone is truly expressing their craft, not because they are trying to prove it to someone, but because it's the essence of who they truly are. That, I would say, is one of the clearest forms of genius, and it's what I'm imagining you are stepping into more and more so. All that shedding, all the silence, all the inner work, it allows for a foundation where when you've really lost it all, or most of it, or you've done it a few times, gone through those phoenix moments, there's a part of you that is willing to bear it all because you have bared it all. And in that interesting way, your song, or the equivalent of your song, becomes a transmission that every receptive heart can recognize, even though it may come uniquely from you. When something resonates with authenticity, it can be seen across and beyond time and space. It becomes timeless. It's why certain pieces of art or certain stories have a timeless quality to them. Because there's a place where our very spirit recognizes it. There's an intimacy. Into me I see. And so, my friend, this level of creation, this level of uncompromising truth is what I feel you are really inviting yourself to express. But I'll add a few more points here. Sometimes we can hear this and we can feel a pressure to be perfect, or it's not worth creating if I'm not expressing that way. And that's not quite the message either. Because the play of genius allows for all kinds of experimentation. It's not about perfection. It's about the joy of expressing in all the ways that are genuine to you. It's not about expecting any one piece or any one song to get a response from anyone else, because that doesn't ultimately matter. It's about the genuine, authentic expression within yourself and you giving yourself permission to express it. Because it's not about waiting for the world to be ready to see it. It's about loving yourself so much that you create this in the world for the child in you, the teenager in you, the young adult in you, the now in you, the future you, who was yearning for it, who was calling for it. You are the one you have been looking for. And no matter how the different expressions ultimately come through, as you let go of the attachment of how it will be perceived, and more so you give yourself permission to authentically express, oh my friend, the places you will go, the worlds you will create, the friends you will make along the way. As this message reaches you, I simply invite you to give yourself a lot of grace. For no matter what's going on in your physical world right now, in receiving this and in allowing yourself a certain degree of grace and remembering, the current now step is about inviting yourself to create daily space where you can express that genius, even if it's just 5 minutes a day to start. Because in creating and cultivating that space, you are living something in this reality that is like the seed of magic. And that seed, as you tend to it, my friend, will grow. It is inevitable. And you don't have to wonder how all the pieces will come together. It is your focus, your willingness to place that intention within what matters most to you in this world, to life. That is everything. My friend, I have so appreciated our very powerful exploration today. I invite you to check out the description link. If you are not already on the Flowbook newsletter, please do check it out. I have some announcements and some fun shares for those who are in that letter to arrive here shortly. Sharing a few tools, resources, and perspectives as we prepare for a new cycle. I would also invite you to explore the lab. We are about to start a cycle of intentional weekly group attunements. I have been participating in them very diligently for the past month, and the shifts that I have felt in my own world have been extraordinary. And with that, my friend, I'm so grateful for our time together, and I'm very much looking forward to our next connection.